Okay, I chose bee conservation in Maine, and a reason why that I chose this, besides that it is a very important topic, is kind of funny. A few years back, for a summer job, I was looking for one, and on Indeed, I saw an ad, which maybe that would have been the first reply. It described a job working with environmental protection, and I was like, that's exactly what I want to do. This will be perfect. So I kept reading, and it mentioned that that summer they were focusing on reversing the decline of the honeybee. So that was cool. I went in and I interviewed. I got the job, and then they mentioned it would be a lot of outdoor work. But I'm an outdoorsy type of person most of the time, so that seemed fine. Then I showed up Monday at 8 a.m. to be trained. I was given a 2-page memo to memorize for the next day. So I thought, well, maybe I'll either be giving an educational presentation or that they want all of their employees to know everything about the project. The next morning, I showed up to be actually trained on site, as they called it, and ended up knocking on random people's doors for 4 hours to recite a memo that they gave me, and then ask them to sign up for an environmental membership. I'm not even really sure what that is. It might not have seemed like a bad idea to the company, but bothering a bunch of random busy people after work when they have deadlines to make that evening, those people tended not to be appreciative of your cause. There's no nice way of saying it, and I'm not going to lie, but this job sucks. I stayed there for a little under a week, and I realized that there's just got to be a better way of doing this. I waited for a while to see if any other job-related things came up. At that point in time, I still had about 2 years of college left, and while some of the jobs did come up, most of them wanted you to have the whole degree before you started working, which, I mean, that makes sense. Then I saw a poster for the Policy Scholar project, where you could pick any topic and apply to be chosen. I thought this has got to be the better way of promoting a similar topic, and that's why I chose bee conservation in Maine. So why do bees matter? Maine is home to about 270 species of bees, relying on honeybees and bumblebees to pollinate the majority of crops. Bees roughly pollinate 80% of all flowering crops. Bees pollinate 70 out of the 100 crops that feed 90% of the world. Without honeybees and bumblebees, many of Maine's commercial crop industries would collapse. Also, when bees pollinate other plants, that act creates biodiversity, which is the variety of life on Earth, and all organisms depend on one another in some way. Maine is the second largest importer of honeybees, importing about 85,000 hives per year. Each hive consists of roughly 50,000 bees, costing about $8.5 million per year. Bees pollinate our food source, and without bees, plants would soon die off, and therefore humans would also be unable to survive. So the problem. Over the past 25 years, there has been about a 60% decrease in the overall bee population. Pesticides are designed to kill pests, such as insecticides are designed to kill insects. Pesticides and insecticides are the two most common types of sprays that farmers put on their gardens to ensure that their produce is not damaged. Bees are a type of insect that we need to pollinate our crops, and without bees, the crops will not get pollinated. Most pesticides and insecticides affect the central nervous system of an insect. They bind to the receptors and cause disorientation, confusion, paralyzation, and death. Bees are affected by them more than other insects because they have more receptors than other insects. Bees also have fewer detoxification abilities to other insects. We are applying a toxic spray to our crops that will hurt the pollinators that we need to pollinate and produce our crops. Since Maine spends about $8.5 million importing honeybees each year, it has been shown that Maine also loses about $3.4 million of those honeybees each year on average, which is about a 40% honeybee loss from the imported honeybees each year. So specific effects of pesticides in bees. There are 4 major effects that pesticides have on bees. Number 1 is lethal effects. Many pesticides are acutely toxic to bees, resulting in death, such as carbamates, organic phosphates, synthetic pyrethroids, chlorinated xylidines, and neonicotinoids are highly toxic, resulting in lethal effects to bees. Number 2 is sublethal effects. Pesticide levels that do not kill bees at significant rates may nonetheless have effects on performance that inhibit tasks such as olfactory learning, foraging, reproduction, which all affect the hive survival. Number 3, synergistic effects. Often pesticides have more toxic effects when used in combination than used alone. And number 4, food availability. Herbicides used in fields and along the right-of-way in forests tend to reduce the number of flowering plants. This reduces the amount of food available for native pollinators, making their survival more difficult. This has effects throughout the food chain, as reduced pollination leads to reduced fruit, of which birds and other creatures depend on. And specifically how multiple pesticides used together affect honeybees, or all bees rather. At the hive entrance and inside the hives, bees tend to suffer from paralysis and or display abnormally jerky, wobbly, or rapid twitching movements such as spinning on their backs. Increased defensiveness, they may become immobile or lethargic and unable to leave flowers. Regurgitation of stomach contents and tongue extensions. The appearance of crawling bees moving very slowly as if they had been chilled. Dead brood, and brood is another term for young bees. And abnormal queen behavior such as queenless colonies. So what I did for this project is I talked to some experts in the field, or I tried to. I emailed Nate Pinnell, John Jemison, and Eric Venturini, who all suggested that I talk to Frank Drummond instead, who I then emailed a few times before he suggested that I talk to Megan Patterson instead, who is on the board of pesticide control, since I wanted to know exactly how much of a pesticide is used in Maine and what types are used in Maine, most commonly at least. And I sent her a few emails, which originally she had got back to me and was like, yeah, I'll send them over. And then I never heard back from her, and I emailed her a few more times, and I still never heard back. So then I decided to go into literature reviews and research. I really took notes on about 15 peer-reviewed papers. Most of them gave me a good background information on how pesticides are used, such as yearly cost, residue found in bee tissues, and how they affect bees as a whole. However, it was more for like broadly use. It was hard because there's nothing really specific to Maine exactly. And I also looked at other states' pesticide use and compared the amount of colonies in other U.S. states to Maine to see if they had any specific different pesticide regulations or laws. I then created a map showing the amount of colonies in each state, and the states that had more colonies tended to have a larger list of banned pesticides. So here's the map I made, and it's from the amount of bee colonies in each state in January 2016. The lightest orange to the darkest brightest orange is the amount of bee colonies from least to most. As you can see, Maine is one of the many states in the lightest orange or peachy color, meaning it has 0 to 12,500 colonies. While that may seem like a lot of colonies, if you look over at California, which is the darkest brightest orange color, it has 2.45 million to 1.14 billion colonies. California, Oregon, Texas, Washington, North Dakota, and Idaho are among the states that have a higher list of banned pesticides. And on that map you can see they are the darker orange colors than other states. And my policy recommendation is that while all pesticides are harmful to bees and have been linked numerous times to the decline of bees both in Maine and around the world, the use of multiple pesticides together is even more detrimental to bees. I think that commercial farmers should combine the discontinued use of combining multiple pesticides to spray on crops and adapt to spraying crops either early in the morning or late in the evening when the temperature is below 55 degrees Fahrenheit, because bees are not actively flying or foraging at this time, which is when they are most vulnerable to pesticides. And here are my citations.